The Brothers Grimm, The Good Bargain. There was once a peasant who had driven his cow to the fair and sold her for 7 thalers. On the way home he had to pass a pond, and already from afar he heard the frogs crying, "Ek, ek, ek, ek." "Well," he said to himself, "they are talking without rhyme or reason. It is 7 that I have received, not 8. When he got to the water, he cried to them, "Stupid animals that you are, don't you know better than that? This is 7 thalers, not 8. The frogs, however, stood to there. "Ek, ek, ek, ek." "Then come, if you won't believe it, I could count it out to you." And he took out his money from his pocket and counted out the 7 thalers, always reckoning 24 groschen to a thaler. The frogs, however, paid no attention to his reckoning, but they cried, "Ek, ek, ek, ek." "What?" cried the peasant, quite angry. "Since you were determined to know better than I, count it yourself." He threw all the money into the water to them. He stood still and waited until they were done, and brought him his own again. But the frogs maintained their opinion, and cried continually, "Ek, ek, ek, ek." And besides, that did not throw the money out again. He still waited a long while until evening came and he was forced to go home. Then he abused the frogs and cried, "You water splashers, you thickheads, you Google eyes, you have great mouths that could screech till you hurt one's ears, but you cannot count 7 thalers. Do you think I'm going to stand here till you get it done?" And with that he went away, but the frog still cried, "Ek, ek, ek, ek," after him until he went home quite angry. After a while he brought another cow, which he killed, and he had made a calculation that if he sold the meat he might gain as much as the 2 cows were worth, and still have the hide to bargain. Then he got to the town with the meat, and a great troop of dogs were gathered together in the front gate, with a large greyhound at the head of them, which jumped at the meat, snuffed at it, and barked, "Wow, wow, wow." As there was no stopping him, the peasant said to him, "Yes, yes, I know quite well what you are saying, wow, 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 because you want some of the meat. But I should fare badly if I were to give it to you." The dog, however, answered nothing but wow, wow. "Will you promise not to devour all of it, then? And will you vouch for your companions?" "Wow, wow, wow," said the dog. "Well, if you insist on it, I will leave it here for you. I know you well, and if you know who your master is, but this I tell you, I must have my money in 3 days, or else it will go badly for you. You must bring it out to me." With that he unloaded the meat and turned back. The dog fell upon it and barked loudly, "Wow, wow." The countryman, who heard them from afar, said to himself, "No, they all want some, but the big one is responsible to me for it." When the 3 days passed, the countryman thought, "Tonight my money will be in my pocket," and was quite delighted. But no one would come and pay it. "There is no trusting anyone now," he said, and at last lost patience. He went into town to the butcher and demanded the money. The butcher thought this was a joke, but the peasant said, "Jesting apart, I will have my money. Did not the great Dane bring you the meat of the slaughtered cow 3 days ago?" Then the butcher grew angry, snatched a broomstick, and drove him out. "Wait a while," said the peasant. There is still some justice in the world," and went to the royal palace and begged for an audience. He had led before the king, who there sat his daughter, and asked him what injury he had suffered. "Alas," he said, "the frogs and the dogs have taken from me what is mine. The butcher has paid me for it with the stick." And he related at full length what had happened. At this the king's daughter began to laugh heartily, and the king said to him, "I cannot give you justice in this, but you shall have my daughter to wed for it." In her whole life she had never yet laughed as she has done for you, and I have promised her to the man who could make her laugh. You may thank God for your good fortune." "Oh," answered the peasant, "I will not have her. I have a wife already, and she is one too many for me. When I go home, it is just as bad as if I had a wife standing in every corner." The king grew angry and said, "You are a boor." "Ah, Lord King," replied the peasant, "you can expect from a pig, but pork?" "Stop," answered the king. "You should have another reward. Be off now, but come back in 3 days, and then you shall have 500 counted out in full." When the peasant went out by the gate, the sentry said, "You have made the king's daughter laugh, so you will certainly receive something good." "Yes, that is what I think," answered the peasant. 500 are to be counted out for me." "Listen," said the soldier. "Give me some of it, what you could do with all that money." "Because it is you," said the peasant, "you shall have 200. Present yourself in 3 days' time before the king, and let it be paid to you." A Jew who was standing by and had heard the conversation ran after the peasant, held him by the coat, and said, "Oh wonder, what a lucky man you are! I will change it for you. I will change it for you into small coins. What would you do with great tailors?" "Jew," said the countryman, 300 you could have. Give it to me at once in coin. In 3 days from this you will be paid by the king." The Jew was quite delighted with the profit, and brought the sum in bad groschen, 3 which were worth 2 good ones. After 3 days had passed, according to the king's command, the peasant went before the king. "Pull off his coat," said the latter. "He shall have 500. "Ah," said the peasant, "they no longer belong to me. I presented 200 of them to the seneschal, and 300 to the Jew who has changed for me. So by right nothing at all belongs to me." In the meantime, the soldier and the Jew entered and demanded what they were owed by the peasant. This conduct angered the king. They received the blows strictly counted out. The soldier bore it patiently, and knew already how it felt. But the Jew said sorrowfully, "Alas, alas, are these the hard tailors?" The king could not help laughing at the peasant, and once all of his anger was gone, he said, "As you have already lost your reward before it has come to you, I will give you something in its place. Go into my treasure chamber, and get some money for yourself, as much as you will." The peasant did not need to be told twice, and he stuffed into his big pockets whatever would go in. Afterwards he went to an inn and counted out his money. The Jew had crept after him, and heard how he muttered to himself, "That rogue of a king has cheated me after all. Why could he not have given me the money himself, and then I should have known what I had? How can I tell if what I have the luck to put in my pockets is right or not?" "Good heavens," said the Jew to himself, "the man is speaking disrespectfully of our lord the king. I will run and inform, and then I shall get a reward, and he will be punished as well." The king heard of the peasant's word, and he fell into a passion, and commanded the Jew to go forth and bring the offender to him. The Jew ran to the peasant. "You are to go at once to the Lord King in the very clothes you have on." "I know what's right better than that," answered the peasant. "I shall have a new coat made first. Do you think a man with so much money in his pockets is to go there in his ragged old coat?" The Jew, as if he saw the peasant could not stir without another word and a coat, and as he feared the king's anger cooled, he himself would lose his reward, and the peasant his punishment, said, "I will go out of pure friendship and lend you a coat for a short time. What will people not do for love?" The peasant was contented with this, put the Jew's coat on, and went off with him. The king reproached the countryman because of the evil speaking of which the Jew had informed him. "Ah," said the peasant, "what a Jew says is always false. No true words ever came out of his mouth." That rascal there is capable of maintaining that I have his coat on." "What is that?" shrieked the Jew. "Is the coat not mine? Have I not lent it to you in pure friendship in order that you might appear before the Lord King?" The king heard that, and he said, "The Jew has assuredly deceived one or the other of us, either myself or the peasant." And again he ordered something to be counted out to him in hard thalers. The peasant, however, went home in a good coat, with the good money in his pocket, and said to himself, "This time I have hit it." And this concludes a very confusing The End.